Hey there, guitar fans. Mark Scrivener at Electric Giraffe Studio here with some very simple tweaks you can do to a Fender Twin Reverb amp that will really improve the versatility of the amplifier. Now, the Twin Reverb, as it is stock, is a great amplifier, but it's usually just too powerful for most situations. Even in fairly large club gigs, if you turn the amp up so it starts to sound good, it's too loud. And if you turn it down to where you blend with the band well and the volume level's about right, it's starting to sound choked and constrained. But fortunately, there's a way you can fix this without spending any money and without making any permanent modifications to the amplifier. So to show you here, I have a 65 blackface Fender Twin Reverb. This one happens to be a reissue from the mid-90s, but original, reissue, blackface, silverface, it doesn't matter. This will work on any twin out there, any Fender Twin out there. Now, first thing we want to do is we want to unplug the amplifier, and we want to turn around and take the back plate off so we can see all the tubes, which we've done here. If you look at the amplifier, the very rightmost tube, which has been removed here, it's V1, that tube is for the normal channel preamp. Since most players never use the normal channel, we can remove that tube, and that will do two things for us. First off, it gives us an extra tube to play with. It's a 12AX7, but more importantly, it will affect how the vibrato channel behaves. As it turns out, the normal channel and the vibrato channel are tied together going into the next stage of the amplifier. And if we remove one of those tubes, if we remove the normal channel tube, then that changes the impedance that the vibrato channel sees. And it actually sweetens that channel up a little bit, as we will see. So remove the 12AX7 tube that's in the V1 socket and set it aside. Now the next thing we're going to do is we're going to remove the V6 tube, which is the phase inverter. This tube has to be in there for the amplifier to work, but we're going to pull out the 12AT7 tube that's in there, and we're going to replace it with the 12AX7 that we took from the V1 socket. The 12AT7 is a little bit lower gain than the 12AX7, so by putting a 12AX7 in there, we're going to drive just a tad harder into the final output stage. This is not going to cause the amplifier to break up or distort, but it will thicken the tone up a little bit. The third thing we're going to do is we're going to remove two of the power tubes, effectively cutting the power of the amplifier in half. The Fender Twin Reverb has four 6L6 tubes, and they're configured such that the left two tubes are in parallel on one side of a transformer leg, and the right two tubes are in parallel on the other side of the transformer leg. So if we take the two middle tubes out, now we have one tube on each side of the transformer leg, and we've cut the power in half. By the way, I want to point out these wires you see coming out here are for my tube bias checker. They are not any sort of modification to the amplifier. The third modification we're going to do is we're going to disconnect one of the speakers. When we remove two of the power tubes, we kind of change the impedance of the circuit. So if we disconnect one of the speakers, we balance that out. We also move less air, which helps us reduce the volume even further. Then finally, if we want to, I haven't done it on this amplifier, but you can physically remove the speaker from the cabinet and lighten the load. If you do that, I'd recommend you remove the speaker that's on the transformer side so it's more balanced when you carry it. But there you go, four very simple things you can do. Doesn't cost any money, doesn't alter the amplifier in any way. You can put it back to stock in a matter of minutes. You pull out the V1 tube, you pull out the V6 tube, you take the 12AX7 that was in the V1 socket and you plug it in the V6 socket. You remove two of the 6L6 power tubes, the two in the middle, and you unplug one of the speakers. And to show you what this mod does, I have this amp set up about midway, which normally would be insanely loud. I have a Telecaster here. It's on the neck position, and I've got the control turned up all both the volume and the tone up all the way. I'm going to turn it on. And again, if you've ever played with a Twin Reverb, you know this would be just insanely loud. You would not want to be sitting this close to the amplifier. But as you'll see, it's actually a fairly manageable volume. And the tone's sweet. It's not distorting or broken up. It's still just a very, very useful amplifier setting. So there you go. Very simple, reversible, safe, zero cost mods you can do to your Twin Reverb. Enjoy, and thanks for watching.